He's a winner. He's competitive, and probably the most important thing is unselfish.
Countless jokes, tricks, you know, all the things that made him a great athlete and a great professional athlete and a successful athlete. What make him a great teammate?
I was a teammate first, a competitor, a guy that didn't want to lose. I don't think I was the most gifted guy. I definitely got the most out of my body and my time on the field, and you know, hopefully I'll be remembered in that way. Yeah, this whole year it's been a struggle. Obviously, you know, I'd love to be playing a lot more, but you know, I think physically I finally, not finally, but I think, you know, my past injuries have kind of caught up to me, and I really feel they've taken their toll on me this year as far as on the field and not being able to play and do the things I want to do on the field. And you know, I think for any athlete it's frustrating when mentally you can still do those things, but physically, you know, your body's not able to, and it's a hard thing. You know, it wasn't until maybe about a month ago that I really kind of accepted it and kind of accepted my role, and you know, of not playing as much anymore, and really move forward, and I'm okay with it now. I'm happy. Not a bad drive coming in, seeing downtown, and kind of get, you know, just that feel for Houston.
This year marks the end of an era for the Houston Dynamo. Brian Ching, the man who moved to Houston in 2006 with his teammates and immediately brought championships, is retiring. It's been quite the journey for Brian, an athlete who was more likely to become a professional surfer than MLS legend.
I can remember the conversation. Me and my brothers were in the back of the car. My mom was driving us home from school one day, and she suggested, why don't you play sports? And I was like, okay, what sport? You know, and she was like, well, soccer. I was kind of a shy kid at the time, so I was like, well, if you coach, then I'll play. And so that was the start of it all. My mom agreed to coach, and that first year she was reading the AYSO manual as we were driving to the field as far as what drills were going to be set up that day. And you know, after that first year, I just kind of fell in love with the sport and continued playing ever since.
Brian's mom's suggestion to play soccer paid off. Brian played through his youth, continuing with club teams in high school, where a fortuitous connection would eventually lead to a college scholarship.
The only way you could really compete in Hawaii at the time was you get all the best players on one team, and then you go away to these tournaments in the mainland, and then you know, then you had a chance of winning a few games and whatnot. But it was just through one of those tournaments in Idaho, Anar saw me, liked me, and I got a scholarship pretty much to one school. And so I didn't really have a choice because I wanted to go away to college, and you know, ended up being a great move for me.
Brian Ching went on to a successful college career, playing forward at Gonzaga University, scoring 34 goals, along with 23 assists.
I got invited down to the Galaxy one summer, my junior year, for a tryout kind of in the summer with Ziggy Smith, and you know, that's kind of was my opportunity to get to the MLS.
Through 11 MLS seasons, conference championships, and MLS Cups, Brian and the Dynamo created a winning formula and filled stadiums with Dynamo Orange.
I think we've done a good job of you know, making it exciting for them with our runs to the final the past 2 years, and we've only missed the playoffs once in a league that's, you know, it's a competitive league. It's a tough league to win in. But this is my favorite part, you know, coming, seeing all the tailgaters and the people getting excited to walk across the street. So definitely plan to tailgate more.
Well, the first time I ever met Brian, I played against him in an Open Cup game, and you know, it's been referred to numerous times by Dominic Kinnear and staff as you know, WrestleMania.
We played at the time, San Jose Earthquakes. I think it was 2003. Played the Seattle Salmons, which Brian was playing for. They were an A-League team at the time. in the U.S. Open Cup. And we had a center back, Eddie Robinson, who everyone knows from Houston Dynamo, was a real rugged, tough, athletic center back, and him and Brian had one that we thought was like a bit of an epic physical show, throwdown, where Brian more than handled Eddie and sometimes got the better of him.
We really didn't know much about that team. I was a young player just out of college, young, and thought I was tougher than anyone and everyone I went up against. I met my match that day.
Obviously, Dom was assistant coach, and it was probably one of my most favorite games because Eddie Robinson was marking me throughout the game, and we had quite the battle.
He's giving it right back, elbows, talking smack. I mean, we just absolutely destroyed each other verbally and physically that day. If I'm not mistaken, I think I got 2 yellow cards. I got sent off that game, and I think we won in penalties.
You know, he ended up getting red card. No surprise there.
At the time, Dominic Kinnear was an assistant coach with San Jose. Dom and manager Frank Yallop knew they'd witnessed MLS talent from the young striker on the field that day.
He had a good night that night, and we just thought, this is players. He's ready to play in MLS. Can we get a hold of this guy? And we made a trade for him. Moved a player over to get to the front of the line in the supplemental draft, and Brian was there. And Frank Yallop at the time wanted Brian. It's the 2003 season. We got Brian on the team, and obviously he's written his own history after that.
The beginning of what became a legacy, one of the greatest goal scorers in the history of this league.
Me and Eddie have had some great battles through the year, and credit to him that I got back in the league, and he's been one of the toughest defenders I've ever had to play against, and I think a big reason why the games came a little bit easier than a lot of the practices did.
Brian joined San Jose in 2003 and saw success, immediate success. In the season opener against the Colorado Rapids, Landon Donovan would pick up a loose ball, send it wide to Brian Mullen, who'd assist Brian on a goal in the very first minute of play. Brian made his presence felt just that quickly. That 2003 season would culminate in an MLS Cup for the Earthquakes, yet the future of the franchise remained uncertain.
Ever since I got to San Jose in 2003, there are always rumors, the team's going to move. So, by 2005, kind of heard it a few times, and you never really think anything of it. It's just another off season. And I think I was in Hawaii and got a call on December 14th or 15th, and they said, we're moving the team to Houston. I looked around for places, and since I love the water and I thought Houston was closer to the ocean than I actually thought, I was looking at places in Galveston. And being from Hawaii and seeing the houses that I grew up on, all the houses around they're not up on stilts. And so I'm looking at these houses and I'm like, this is really weird, And I was like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna move down to Galveston. It's 45 minutes away. I'm gonna probably stick in the city.
San Jose, people are rude to you until you're overly nice to them. Then they're nice back to you. In Houston, people are overly nice to you until you're rude to them, and then they're rude back. It's just the difference in the culture here. And Brian's just a nice guy. He's a happy guy. He's a friendly guy. So he fits in here.
It was pretty neat in the sense that we didn't know what to expect, and what we got was a huge hug from the city, and I think that just started off on a special relationship between our team and our organizations and its fans.
The Houston Dynamo had arrived, and if the city wasn't sure what to expect of their new team, Brian made sure they'd never forget. Playing in front of 25,000 eager fans in Robertson Stadium, Brian Ching would score an astonishing 4 goals, and the legacy had begun.
I think the Houston fans knew a little about MLS, knew a little about the team. Obviously, Brian was in the national team at the time. Dwayne DiRosario was with the Canadian national team. Those were kind of like our 2 marquee players at the moment. And that game, for anybody to score 4 goals was going to be on the tip of everyone's tongue. So I think that 4 goals, but then he never was short of delivery. He always delivered when the team needed it.
It's something you dream about. Going to the park, I just wanted to win the game and have a good showing. And the way the game kind of turned out is scoring 3 goals in the first half, and couldn't start off any better. But having said that, I mean, you look at the goals. They're all from great crosses from my teammates, and that's how I always feel like my career has been about. Helping my team and my teammates helping me, and for that game to put 4 goals in that first game, kind of really helped, I think, us settle into the city and help the fans really get excited about the good team that they inherited.
The Brian Ching persona and admiration started with that game against Colorado, getting 4 goals right out the bat. And everyone walked out of the stadium and knew his name, and it continued.
From day one, what's really made our organization feel at home here were the people and the fans, and it's one of the things that I love most about the city is that the people have the Southern hospitality, or which was similar to the Aloha spirit in Hawaii. And so everyone I've met was extremely nice to us and made us feel at home here, and that's one of the things I love most about this city today. For me, as a player, I've always enjoyed scoring goals and seeing the fans' reactions and seeing the joy that it brings.
Brian has created memories for fans and scored goals, a total of 82 in MLS play.
I think when you look at American target forwards, the 2 names that always pop up are Brian Ching and Brian McBride. He's in good company there. I will say, and I read a comment by Landon Donovan said he was underrated. I completely agree with that, because he wasn't a person that went out and sought attention, and therefore I think he kind of flew under the radar. I think if you were to ask in his prime if any team in the league wanted him, I think every team would snap him up in a heartbeat.
Well, you made it exciting. Right? You could always count on him to be good in every game. He's going to score goals. Some spectacular ones, that you'll always remember and you'll never forget, but he made the game exciting. When you look at successful forward partnerships in the history of Major League Soccer, I go back to Brian and Landon, and that would be in the top 3 for me. Just because of the way they read the game, I think you see it a lot now with Landon and Robbie Keane in LA. I think Brian and Landon had that. And I think they would have had it on the national team if Brian didn't have so many injuries.
Brian didn't mess around with injuries. He always went for the good ones. Snapped a hamstring tendon, he tore his Achilles tendon. Obviously, he's got a plate in his face. So he's been through the battles. But I think if people understood what he was going through to make himself available, I think the respect and the admiration would be a lot greater than it is. Here's a guy on the table getting his knee drained before a game, going out and leading the line defensively, attacking-wise. It's a great inspiration for the rest of the guys that are playing.
Brian's goals have come at key moments, and often in spectacular fashion.
DC United was the best team in the league, won Supporters Shield, and they came to Houston, and we had a tough game. They're a good team, and it was just one of those things where Brad serves in a ball, and Paul Douglas kind of saw me running the far post, and Paul tried to flick it on and just kind of went up a little bit higher, and no thinking at the time. You just see the ball coming down, you just kind of run into it, and you just do a bicycle kick, and it's something that I practiced when I was a little kid in the sand over and over and all the time, and I never really ever thought I would do it in a game.
How quickly he has to decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and being physically capable of doing that. Getting your body at the right angle so that when you strike it, it's on target. But the adjustment that he makes, and again, the decision, how quickly he comes to that conclusion that this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it, and then executes it.
This is the way he keeps his body, and from a technical side of it, as far as a coach goes, you see how he just changes his body midair to get the proper force on it. Was so impressive.
Just to kind of connect it the way I did, and then you get up and you see it's in the back of the net. It was a huge goal. I think that secured us a playoff spot for that year, and we went on to win that game 1-0. So it was a goal that I'll definitely remember for the rest of my life, and I'm not going to lie, I've watched it more than a few times.
Coach Dominic Kinnear's favorite moment as a Dynamo involves Brian Ching, but not one of his goals.
We played Colorado in the playoffs, and Brian Mullen's 3rd goal still for me is my favorite Dynamo goal of all time. And it gives me the chills talking about it. Probably replayed this goal on my computer, I ain't kidding you, about 500 times. I watch it, I rewind it. I watch it, I rewind it. It's just one of my favorite moments in Dynamo history. And you see Brian Mullen is running, and when he scores, Brian takes a move to the goal, and then you see him, and he turns, and his face is just blown up, and he's trying to chase Mullen. It's an awesome celebration. It just shows you how much he enjoys his teammates. And obviously everyone was happy at the moment, but when you see Ching's reaction to try and race over Brian Mullen, it's something you can't describe because it's just so valuable And my favorite goal of Dynamo all time, and you know, two of my favorite guys taking part in it too.
A teammate of Brian's for 9 straight seasons, Eddie Robinson will always remember the goal Brian scored in the 114th minute of the 2006 MLS Cup.
MLS Cup in Dallas, that goal he scores at the end of the game, right? How quickly that's come, how devastated we were as a team. I didn't even see the goal. I was still looking at the ground, feeling sorry for myself. I didn't see that he just hooks on. In that moment, that was not easy. He hit the target, let alone score. The goalkeeper that's in there. It was a ball that was deflected. He had to adjust his run. He had to head the ball down. Moving backwards. So many things about that goal made it impossible. And I have another MLS Cup championship ring because of it.
That goal led to the 2006 MLS Championship, capping the Dynamo's inaugural season in Houston.
I obviously think that 2006, from start to finish, was an unbelievable year for myself, the organization, the team, you know, and our fans. And, you know, I think it was pretty special in the way that, you know, we were able to kind of end that season, you know, in basically our home stadium. You know, our fans made the Dallas Stadium our home stadium. The sky is orange. You know, every time we stepped on that field, I think, you know, we knew what it took to win. I think the further I get from playing, the more and more I'll think about these things and reminisce, I guess, about the good old days while I was playing. But you know, right now I'm still in it, you know, and I'm going to be involved with it. So hopefully, you know, I won't miss it too much. That's the thing about Houston fans. I mean, you know, you look at the way they support the Texans, the Rockets. They really get behind their teams, you know, and they're positive. I mean, you know, they have high expectations, put it that way. Our team feeds off of that. We expect to be playing for a championship every year.
Consecutive MLS Cup championships in 2006 and 2007, the Dynamo and Brian Ching have created one of the league's top franchises. But today marks a poignant moment for sports in Houston. After 233 MLS games and 82 goals, as well as 45 caps with the U.S. national team, today is the final regular season home game for Brian.
My retirement from the field, it's kind of a scary issue in the sense that all I've known is to be a professional soccer player, and it's hours and camaraderie that comes with it. It's not so much a retirement as a transition. You know, it's going from your dream job to, you know, maybe your second dream job. And you know, I've been blessed with a great organization. You know, I feel lucky that I have a great ownership group that wants to keep me around, you know, along with a coach that respects me. You know, it's those things that are going to make my transition a little bit easier.
The future is uncertain, but Brian will remain involved with the Houston Dynamo. That is certain. And after the season ends, Dynamo President Chris Canetti announced that the first ever testimonial match for a player will take place at BBVA Compass Stadium, giving back to the community that has given so much to Brian.
You know, as my last act as a professional soccer player, I wanted to kind of give back in a big way, and you know, this testimonial game is really a way to help out with that. And I feel blessed to be able to do it.
From his childhood in Hawaii through college and the professional ranks in Washington and California, Brian's roots now run deep in the Houston community.
Houston is home. It's the longest place I've lived outside of Hawaii. It's a place that I have roots now. I have a house. You know, I have an organization that I love and want to be a part of, and I want to give back to a community that's given me so much. And Yeah, I think Houston's going to be my home for a long time, you know, until I really retire and find a beach somewhere and a nice hammock and some good surf. So.
A legacy was born the day MLS soccer arrived in Houston. And from that first day, number 25, Brian Ching, created lasting memories and instilled a passion for winning that will be felt for many years to come.
I think it's not so much what they'll say about him, but it's how they'll compare all the forwards for the rest, for at least probably the next 20 years in this club to Brian Ching. If you're not performing on the standards that he was, then you're not doing a good enough job. And that, again, that's why he was so successful, was his attitude. Scoring goals isn't enough, right? Scoring 12, 15 goals in a season, that's not enough. It's your attitude and the little things you do that gain your team an extra point here or an extra point there. And those are the things that Brian Ching did.
He's a winner, he's a competitor, and he's unselfish. But my relationship with Brian is probably, when you look in that locker room now, it's obviously it's the tightest I have between a player and a coach.
The respect that he's earned will mean that players that play in this club for a long time to come will have to live up to what fans expected of Brian Ching.
I think I've been blessed to be part of a city that loves sports, loves soccer. What I always played for and what I always loved the most was that 30 seconds after you score a goal and you're just looking into the stands and you're seeing people going crazy. And to be able to bring that feeling to people and the excitement that you feel when you see that is what I'm going to miss a lot.